WTF is human design, right? And so I really start to break the chart down for you here. Let's go on down. I really like to say, hey, this is your natal birth chart, which is astrology, plus Myers-Briggs, which is that personality test that we all know, INFP over here. Yeah, and then my explanation is it's literally just your energetic configuration. So energetic, unseen, your aura, your field, your energy field that you carry around you. It's created at a specific time, depending on where and when you were born. The moment of your birth determines your personality traits. So your soul's purpose and journey can be found here, kind of found. And your human design, so your life story and path in this incarnation lifetime. Literally, you can look at somebody's chart and the way that it breaks down, you can see, oh, squirrel, somebody drove by. You can see if they have, if they're carrying karma from a past life, if they're karma free in this life. So many different things that you can look at just to break apart so many things. Literally, you could deep dive this forever. So it offers you insight into who you are, how you can make decisions, how you communicate most effectively, and it helps you get from, bridge the gap between who you are and who you want to be. So I really let me make myself way up here. I kind of like to talk about, there we go. Now we can see it all. I like to talk about the ancient systems behind it. So it really pulls from a lot of different systems. And if you look over here, we saw the traditional human design chart, and you already look at this and you go WTF. I don't know what it is, and you kind of throw it aside. If you want to dive in even deeper, this one here is called the Rave Mandala, and you can get this version of your chart as well. And this one is even like more fascinating, but it's also more like WTF. So, but this can really let you start to see where this other systems are coming into play. So you've got the I Ching, which you can see the hexagrams align with the gates here on our Rave Mandala. And this is just an ancient Chinese text. The Book of Changes is what they used to call it. So it's just some wisdom to guide us along. The Kabbalah Tree of Life. So if you actually believe it's, if you flip it upside down, you'll see how it relates to the 9 energy centers here in the body. And then how the channels you've got going there. Then if you look, you've got your astrological chart here, and you can see the astrological wheel on the inside there. And then our chakra system. So the seven chakras align to 7 of the 9 energy centers here. And you'll kind of hear where those start coming into play as we go through. So, and then, yeah, you add in the science stuff. So quantum physics, biochemistry, genetics, all the sciencey stuff. So we're going to concentrate really up top on this first part of the chart. You could really spend so much time just deep diving this part of your chart alone and learning how to just work with your strategy and authority and type. And you could spend, literally, you could spend years just diving in on that. So we're going to start talking about that first. So up top, what the heck? So type. Your type is basically the role you fulfill in the world, and how your strategy is how you can best make decisions according to your unique strategy. So generators are 37% of the population. Those people are here to respond to things. They're here to work. They're the life force energy of the world, the worker bees, the energizer bunnies, and their job is to wait to respond to something. And we'll get more. I don't know how much we should dive that. I don't think we're going to dive it too much, because we'll dive it later as we start reading individual charts. But anyways, their job is to wait to respond to something. So they should things that they will energetically attract things into their field, and then it is their job to respond yes or no. Like, let's say a business or job opportunity comes into your field, and then you use your authority, which plays in up here, and we'll talk about that in a minute, to determine whether that's right for you or not. Then manifesting generators are about 33% of the population. And these are basically generators just with a defined throat center. And they have a little bit different qualities. And they're their own type, basically. So they're still here to respawn. They're still very similar to generators. But they need to kind of wait and try things out and then respond. So they have qualities of both the manifester and the generator. Manifestors are 9% of the population, and they are here to initiate. They are here to make things happen. They are here to bring ideas to life, and their job is to inform. So, a lot of times they might be, and I get caught up in this too. I need to inform. I've been teaching in the background about human design, and then all of a sudden I brought it to the foreground, and people are like, wait a minute, you know about human design? You're talking about human design? And I'm like, yeah, I've been talking about it in the background. Oh, I haven't been informing people. So that just kind of gives you an example of it. Then projectors are 20% of the population. They're here to guide others, and they're really good at this. And their job is they need to wait for the invitation. They need to be recognized for their brilliance. They need to be recognized for what they bring to the table and then invited in. And then reflectors, they are less than 1% of the population. So they are super duper rare. They're here to reflect. So they literally reflect their environment. And their strategy is to wait a lunar cycle. So they need to literally wait like 28 days before even making any major decisions. Could you even imagine if I was a reflector? I would probably drive myself insane. 28 days. I'm like, make a decision and I'm like 1 hour and I'm antsy, like, okay, let's make a decision. Anyways, so then your authority is the center. So the centers are the 9 things that were in the middle of that body graph thing that were like triangle, squares, and diamonds that you're like, what is that? Those are centers. So this is really the center that you should look to for guidance when you are making decisions. So this is the way you're designed to say yes or no. And these are literally like let's compare them to like intuitive hits. So like you're not literally you really got to learn to like tap in and tune into these. So if you are a sacral authority, you're just going to literally know hell yes or hell no is going to come from your sacral authority area. So you're literally maybe going to feel like this pool of excitement, or you're going to feel like this nauseous like nope. And so that's how you know. If you're an emotional solar plexus, you need to wait. You're going to have like the same response, but you're probably going to have maybe an emotional or an excited response to like everything. Or so you need to wait until your emotional response passes before you make your decision. If you're splenic, you're going to have this instant gut reaction and it does not repeat itself, because splenic is all survival based. It warns you once and then not again. And then it's survival of the fittest. If you did not listen, then you are going to get eaten by the tiger. Not that drastic nowadays, but so then you also have heart centered. You're literally going to feel at your heart center a pull towards or away. So you are best to like talk your decisions out with somebody that you trust. Self projected, you're just going to have this deep inner knowing. Like you're just going to know. You should talk it out too. Lunar, you got to wait and reflect for 28 days. I'm sorry, you got a real 28-day theme. And you're not self-themed. So this is going to be, if you are out of alignment for your energy type, if you are like a generator and you are trying to be a manifester and you are trying to force and initiate things and make things happen like we have been taught to do and we have been brought up and raised to do, you are going to possibly run into a lot of frustration. So if you realize that you are running through a lot of frustration with your projects or through life or just through whatever, really take a look at this and really think about how you can apply your strategy more to your life. So, anyways, this is going to be the most prominent emotional indicator that you are out of alignment for your energy type. Generator, you are going to be frustrated. Manifesting generators, you are going to be frustrated and angry. Manifestors, you're just going to be angry. Projectors, you're going to be bitter. Reflectors, you're going to be disappointed. Okay, then we move on to our profile, and that's this number here. 1/3 is my fake little person, Madison. And so what this really tells you is kind of the way you learn, how you interact with others. So the first number is what they call conscious. So this is more a conscious aspect. You're going to be more likely to be aware of this theme in your life than you are the second number. And I've also read that it kind of plays out more in the first 30 to 40 years of your life. And after the first 30 to 40 years, you start seeing this second number. So the second theme start coming more into light, which is totally true for me. My profile is a 2/5, hermit, heretic. So I'm definitely still a hermit, but now the second part of my life after 35 years, I've kind of had this waking up to want to be a guide and a teacher and a leader. So I can definitely see where this plays out in my own personal profile. But depending on whatever numbers you have, if you have a 1, you are an investigator. So you're deeply introspective. You need time for research and reflection. If you're a 2, you're a hermit. That's me. You lack self-awareness of your talents. You need recognition and feedback, and you need to be drawn out of your little hidey hole because you like to hide away and you really need people to draw you out. Number 3, you're a martyr. So not so much about like, I think martyr and I think like people pleaser. I have to throw myself in front of the flaming sword for somebody else kind of thing. And that's not really what it means. It kind of means like an experimenter. So that's almost a better word for it, an experimenter. You like to experiment, figure out what works, figure out what doesn't, and then let people know. If you are a 4, you are an opportunist. You love to network and you're very inclusive and welcoming, and not network in like a bad way. You just love to just know people, just love to know everybody. Number 5, heretic. You're a warrior, a guide, a teacher. You want to lead people, guide them, teach them. Number 6, you're a role model. You like to reflect and see the bigger picture, and you may not see the role model aspect of your life come out until like way later on in life. So I've read a little bit more about the role model. And it kind of talks about how you almost have like this, almost like a hermit's journey, or I don't know what else to call it, before you come around and then you can share your wisdom and then be that role model later on in your life. So your definition really just means the flow of your channels and the energy between your centers. So your channels are all those little like street lines, or I like to call them road streets, that you saw going in between the centers. And some are red, some are black, some have no color at all, some are striped. We are not going to dive into like what all of that means right now, but just know those are the channels. And if you have one that's like completely connected, whether it's colored in, whether it's striped, whether it's red, whether it's black, whether it's, yeah, that's it. If you have one completely all the way defined, then we would call those our defined centers. So that's how you would determine, like, are you a single definition? Like mine's a single definition. So all of my centers that are defined, so that are colored in, are all connected together by also channels that are colored in. So if you have a split, that means that you've got 2 sets. So you've got 2 basically different sets of those energy centers that are connected, but then not connected to each other. I hope that makes sense. Triple split is going to be, again, the same thing. So 3 separate energy centers connected, working separately from each other, but not connected together. Quadruple splits are going to have the 4 and no definitions. That's the reflector. That means you have no centers that are connected to each other. You are literally here to like try on the energy of others. So you're going to have no consistent energy that you pull from yourself. Well, then your Incarnation Cross, all we're going to cover about that right now is that is basically talks more about your life theme, the lesson you're here to learn. It might be a recurring theme that keeps showing up in your life, how you approach your life journey. So that's all about your life lesson, purpose, whatever, that thing. Now we're going to dive into centers. How long have I been talking now? Not terribly long. I'm doing pretty good. Centers. So now now you can actually see what I'm talking about. These are the shapes here. So we've got triangle, the upside down triangle, square, a diamond, like an isosceles triangle. Is that what they're called? I don't know. I don't math anymore. Sideways triangles, squares. So these are your centers, and each center represents an energy center. Each represents a part of maybe your personality, your subconscious. It's tied to actual physical aspects. And then we call these, if we are saying your centers are closed or defined, this means that it is colored in. So these would be all these centers here on this chart. These are closed or defined. And that aspect of your personality is more fixed or consistent. And this is areas where you will are not likely to be influenced by others, but where you will be able to influence other people and groups, especially if those people have open centers opposite your defined centers. They're going to be influenced more heavily by your energy. As here, open and undefined, those are all the areas, all the centers that are white. And that just means that these functions of your personality are more flexible and impressionable. You're going to be more easily influenced in these areas by other people and other groups. So we'll go through each of those very briefly. So the very top one is the head or the crown. And this center is going to be where you get your inspiration. You'll get the pressure to answer questions. You might have doubt or confusion. And then anatomically, this relates to the pineal gland and then like your melatonin levels. So if you have this area of your chart closed or defined, so colored in, you are going to have a consistent supply of inspiration and you're going to radiate that out into the world. So you will be able to supply your own inspiration versus an open or undefined center. They tend to search for inspiration outside of themselves. So a closed and defined center is going to have a really deep-seated need to understand and explain everything. So they really want to know how things work so they can turn around and explain it to others. Whereas open undefined, they're going to feel like they might have many interests and they feel pressured to act on all of them because that's a pressure center. So that's me. I have an open head and crown and I'm inspired by all the things and I want to do all the things. Flooded with inspirational energy. So it's imperative to follow your strategy to know what's right for you because you're going to like want to do everything. So the next one is the mind, Ajna. That's the next upside down triangle. If you're closed, defined, you're going to be trustworthy, reliable, but fixed. You're going to be forever comparing, reviewing, and researching. If you are open and undefined, you'll be able to see many sides to an issue. You're going to be open-minded, empathetic, judicious, and you might have trouble making up your mind. So the mind center is all about awareness, thoughts, concepts, belief systems, researching, and it relates to the pituitary gland and the third eye. Your throat is going to be this top square, so right in the middle there of the neck. This is the center related to communication, speech, and manifestation into action. This is where we manifest. So this relates to the thyroid and parathyroid glands anatomically. So the important thing when I mention these anatomically, you can also notice that like if you are somebody who struggles or has health issues in one of these areas, so say you have hypothyroidism, that can indicate that you and say you have an open and undefined center, then you are going to be more sensitive to having issues with the thyroid. So this could be important for you as you begin to pay attention and operate more according to your strategies and be self-aware of these traits and aspects of your centers. You can notice your body just beginning to holistically heal itself just from energetics, guys. It's crazy. It's so literally magical. Um yeah. I'm going to get off into a total tangent if I stop talking about that. Back to human design chart, Christy. So throat, if you have it closed, defined, colored in, how it speaks is controlled by what it's connected to. So what I mean by that is, say you have a closed throat. I have a closed throat and I have my whole channel. Well, I have my whole channel colored in from the 1 to the 8. So this center here is all about self. So basically, I like to talk about myself. No, I really like to talk about self, like ourselves, hence my name, the Self Project Studio, for my business, which I came up with before I even started diving into human design and learned that about myself, that because of my defined throat and my defined G center and this channel, that I'm going to like to talk about self and the exploration of self and the discovery of self, blah, 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 blah. So it all kind of a synchronicity, you know. And then so say you're connected here, you're going to really, you might like to talk a lot about your fears because the spleen is fear based. If you're connected to the solar plexus with a full defined channel, you are going to probably like to talk about your feelings, or feelings or emotions a lot. So that's kind of a cool way to tap into an understanding of why you like to talk about what you like to talk about. You're going to be more consistent in your communication, and often people just want to talk to you for no reason other than you have a defined throat, and those people with open and undefined throats are going to be drawn to your energy. If you are open, you can often blurt or interrupt. The way that you speak might change depending on who you're with. So if you've ever noticed that, and you've noticed you're kind of like a chameleon and you can blend in really well, and you're like, why do I tend to take on the traits of the group that I'm with? Just know that that's part of your energy type too. And you can be aware of that, but then you need to remember to shake that back off and remember to detach from, oh, is that mine or is that somebody else's? So you might struggle to express yourself the way you would like just because you're not sure how that is. I'm rolling along. I know I'm talking for a long time here. So then the middle of a diamond is identity, the self, or the G center. I call it the G center because that's like quick and easy. This is all about love, direction, purpose, self. Anatomically, it relates to the liver. If you are closed, defined, or colored in, you generally have a strong sense of your identity, purpose, and direction. You're here to give love, and you might find yourself shepherding those that feel kind of lost because you do have a strong sense of self. So they're going to be drawn to you. Or is that bit open and undefined? How you experience yourself changes depending on who you are with, because remember, open centers are influenced by others, and you understand other people's sense of direction and purpose more than you do your own. Then you've got the will and the heart center. That's the little sideways isosceles triangle. This corresponds to motivation, willpower, self-worth, drive, ambition. So if you have ever wondered why do I just not have the willpower to like power through something or stick with something, literally know that it's because only like 1 out of 10 people in the population have their G centers open, right? Yes. So if it is closed, you do not have consistent access to willpower. So you might find that you're able to harness some willpower for a while, but then you lose it. You may feel motivated by the need to prove yourself, and you have a tendency to undervalue yourself. If you're open and undefined, this is rare because you have the potential to harness pure willpower. When you set your mind on something, you have the energy to power through it without burning out. You throw your whole heart into what you do, like literally, and that's why you have the pure willpower to go through it. So it's really important for you to follow your strategy to make sure that you are in something that is correct for you. And your greatest requirement is to get rest. Your emotional solar plexus, that's this guy over on the right side of the chart, your little sideways triangle. It's all about emotions and feelings. Anatomically, it relates to the kidneys, pancreas, stomach, lungs, and nervous system, which totally makes sense because when you're feeling anxious or fearful, what most often happens, your stomach is tightened up. You might be feeling kind of short of breath. You feel nervous. You might feel shaky, like your digestion system is whacking. So it's all tied together, mind body connection. So if that area of your chart is closer defined, you're going to experience emotions in waves. So you might go from like literally being up here to like then down. So um your emotions and moods are going to be mirrored by those around you. So they're literally going to be contagious by those with the open and undefined centers. So, open and undefined, you're going to be taking in the emotional energy of others and amplifying it. So, you might notice when you're alone, your natural state is pretty calm and collected. And only when you get with others do you get these emotional energy surges. Not always, but sacral, that's going to be this middle-ish square. This is all related to work and life force energy, reproduction, sexuality. Anatomically, this relates to the reproductive organs. If you have this center closed and defined, you are designed to work and you have got the energy to do it. It's important to sleep when you're exhausted. Don't wait for your second wind because your energy is not designed to do that. You're not going to have access to that pure, raw energy. If you're open and undefined, sleep and alone time are really vital for you to recharge because you don't have access to that consistent energy. You do have the ability to maintain high levels of energy in short periods of time. So you might be able to get a lot done, and then you're going to have to stop and rest. While as a closed defined center is more steady and stable, has a more stamina power. Then we get down to the root. That's the bottom. That's our other pressure center. We have two pressure centers, the root and the head. And this is all about pressure, drive, ambition, stress, and grounding. It relates to adrenaline. If you have this area closed or defined, this is not to say that you're not, but you generally will not experience as much pressure to like get things done. Like, oh my gosh, I have to get these things done. Um, your energy is either there or it's not for something. And if you don't feel like getting the thing done, you're not experiencing the pressure to get it done. Then an open and undefined center, like mine's open and undefined. So I can really relate to this. You feel under the pressure to get things done. You take in an adrenaline energy and you amplify it. So under the pressure to get things done, like if I have a to-do list written out, there's like this false pressure on me of, oh my God, I have to check off this to-do list, right? I got to do these things. And because my root is open, I literally feel this physical pressure in my body of like, I have to be free of this to-do list. I have to be free of these things to do to get this pressure to essentially go away. And then it becomes this vicious cycle because obviously the to-do list never goes away. So you're constantly under this pressure to get things done. So that was a huge awareness point for me to realize as well. With an open root, I'm going to be under this false pressure. And so I have to take a step back and realize like, whoa, is this pressure that I really need to be reacting to right now? Or can I kind of let that pressure just kind of let it go? Then the spleen, it's the last guy over here on the left. He's our instinct, survival, intuition, and time. It relates to the spleen, the lymph nodes, and the immune system. So this guy is kind of our what's this organ for, relates to when it really needed to produce adrenaline for us when we were living in caveman times and we literally had to like run from tigers and bears and hide. And we were like literally worried about getting eaten by something, a dinosaur, whatever. This is really where those hormones kicked into like the instinct happened, that gut instinct of something's off and they were very tuned into their intuition because that kept them alive. And so that they knew they had to get out of there. So over time, we're not in those super life and threatening situations anymore. So we still got the spleen in there, though, who is all about doing that. So that's where it's going to play in a minute. If you have that area closer defined, you might notice that there's going to be a lot of fear-based communication present. So, what I mean by that is anything that you have like fears around, you might notice yourself talking about it a lot, especially if you have like a defined throat. You can choose whether you tap into these fears and let them rule you and be fears, or whether you're self-aware of them and you handle them in a different way. So your decisions, gut responses happen in the moment, and you tend to have a really strong immune system if this is closed or defined. If it is opened or undefined, you might have a sensitive immune system. You can have a hard time letting go people, things, situations, and it's common for you to struggle with the concept of time. So to be perpetually late, to not realize how much time has passed when you've gotten absorbed in something, etc. And the very last thing I'm going to touch on are gates and channels. Those are these things running through here. These are channels. Oh, I didn't finish my presentation. Way to go, Christy. Anyways, that's okay. Channels are the lines that run between. Gates are all the little numbers in there, and each little gate is lined up to like a specific personality trait. Like some of my defined gates are like the gate of saying yes, or there's the gate of power skills. And so each has a meaning behind it, especially depending on its planetary influence, which tells us that in these charts. So you can see that it gets really, really in depth, and you can really peel back so many layers of your chart. Like there's so much that you could spend literally years unpacking here. So that's just a really quick overview for you. I'm going to go ahead and cut it because I've been talking now for 40 minutes. So if you guys have questions, please leave them. I will answer them. And then we'll have this overview to refer back to once we get rolling. If we are doing human design readings and your interest is piqued and you're like, okay, wait, now what is this again? You'll have this to come back to. So I hope that you guys have a fantastic Saturday and Sunday. And I'm going to go outside because it's a beautiful day, and I'm going to get a little bit of work done. And then we have, my son has some friends coming over in a little bit. So enjoy your day. I will see you.